On today's episode of Titus and Tate, the Big Ten is dead, and the Big East is holding a knife. And the getaway car is being driven by Kim English and George Mason. And I think that's the narrative of college basketball we found ourselves at, Tate.
What do the Knicks fans say? Bing bong? That's how it feels for the Big East right now. They're fired up.
Oh, my God. What is going on? What is
chaos.
going on?
This is good. This is November chaos. And unfortunately, the ACC has to play the Big Ten, so I have to.
I know. You got to be careful.
It back. Yeah, I got to be careful.
Everyone. So, spoiler alert. I'm gonna make the case that the Big Ten isn't dead quite yet. I'm probably gonna do it at the end of the show because I'm gonna need a lot of time to come up with
the fraud
the
power
spin
rankings.
zone. Yeah. Yeah, we do have fraud power rankings coming up.
Yeah. That's what you were talking about.
But I need a lot of time to come up with the spin zone, so we're probably going to do it at the end of the show where I spin that the Big Ten is actually not that bad. But boy, the data points we have right now are
4 straight days of unranked Big East teams upsetting ranked Big Ten teams.
The Big Ten is falling off a cliff.
It's okay.
Anyway,
we're gonna figure it out.
We'll talk about it. Congratulations to the Big East. Hang the banner in the conference in the Madison Square Garden next to the Billy Joel banners. Hang a banner that says "We beat the Big Ten in the Gavitt games." I think that has to go in Madison Square Garden. That's how we have to do it now.
I'm ready.
What else we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about the Coach K farewell tour is rolling through stop signs. We'll say is that one way of putting it?
It's just not stopping. It's not going to stop. It refuses to stop. Everyone is waving down the car to say please stop, and it won't stop.
There is news out of Durham, North Carolina that we have to touch on. That
do we? Because I can't talk about it without laughing, and I think that's unfair.
I know. Yeah, very serious.
Maybe I'll let you explain to the people
what happened. Yeah. I think most people know what happened at this point, but Paolo Banchero is going to miss 0 games. He was suspended indefinitely, and that was 0 seconds, as it turns out. That was the indefinite suspension this time around. Talk about that a little bit. Also, it is Fraud Friday, so we have to do my top 5 fraud power rankings. Spoiler on that one, BYU not going to be on there.
No,
the BYU Cougars,
the young Pope.
They're playing out of their minds. Michigan Wolverines might make an appearance.
Oh wow, this is good. This is a good day for you, maybe.
My spin zone. I'm telling you, I'm gonna figure it out. And by the time we get there, I'm gonna figure out the spin zone. I'm gonna be happy about.
I can't wait. And we're so Big East heavy today that we have Dana O'Neill to come on to talk about the Big East, her new book. That's gonna be great.
We have Dana. On. She wrote a book about the Big East. We were excited to talk to her about that because we just get fired up when you hear about the old Big East. Any old Big East stories get us going. Great interview. We talked to her for about 15 minutes and she was awesome and it was fun talking to her. So absolutely loaded show coming up. But first,
Woody Durham.
All right, before we get going, we got a very special announcement. This is some good news and some bad news, Tate. We'll start with the bad news because I've always been that kind of type. I want the bad news. Hit me with the bad, and then sweeten it.
We're dessert guys. We want to have the sweet taste in our mouth.
Yes. So let me eat the Brussels sprouts now, and then we'll get the dessert coming. Yeah. Here are the Brussels sprouts. Are you ready for this? This is the bad news. The bad news is we just got word, breaking news. This is Scoops. I'm back in the Scoops game. That all the college basketball games next Tuesday have been canceled. There's apparently just some sort of logistics situation with Thanksgiving going on. Everyone but one game has been canceled on Tuesday. That is the bad news. So all of you that love college basketball, we're looking forward to watching college basketball on Tuesday. I'm sorry to say there will only be one game being played. And that brings me to the good news, Tate. Because that one game that's going to be played is the St. Francis. Jim, help me out. What the hell are their nickname? The Terriers?
I have no idea.
I just said they were
St. Francis Brooklyn is what they're called.
The Terriers, right?
SFU is what's on their jersey. Yeah, SFU.
The SFU Terriers on Tuesday night will be playing
the home of Pete Davidson.
Yeah, Pete Davidson and Dick Bavetta. Yeah, Dick Bavetta went to St. Francis, dude. The SFU Terriers, they're the Terriers. Jim, back me up.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, thank you. They will be playing the St. John Red Storm.
Ooh,
St. John's Red Storm.
The Johnnies. In
Carnesecca Arena, and yours truly will be on the call. Tate and I will be calling the game on FS2. I understand.
Everyone listening thinks we're kidding.
Everybody thinks we're kidding. We're not kidding. So that is going to happen. We are flying to Queens. It's in Queens, right? Jamaica, Queens. That's where St. John's. We are going to New
Alumni
York.
Hall, a.k.a. Carnesecca Arena. The two of us calling a game in front of the Johnnies.
Yes.
Jimmy might be there, right?
Look at Jim decked out with St. John stuff over there.
Hell yeah.
They send that to you?
Yep. Shout out to Alex over there.
Jim,
St. John's basketball.
He's just making deals behind the scenes with the athletic department into the St. John's. We love to see that.
Yeah, we're calling the game though. This does sound like a joke. I understand that everyone listening is like, there's no way this is actually happening. It is
on
happening.
FS2 at 7 o'clock Eastern. You and I, if you tune in, you will see us on the call, making jokes.
Yep. And
telling you what's happening in the game. You're going to be telestrating.
I'm going to try to do a telestrator dick. Yeah. I am. That's my promise to the American people. I'm going to try to do a telestrator dick and get away with it. I probably shouldn't announce that because my bosses might be listening in and might like cut the telestrator between now and then.
There's no way you get that pin now.
But yeah, we're excited. This is the first time we've ever done this. This is obviously this is probably a bad decision on Fox's part, but it's a decision that's been made nonetheless, and we will be calling the game. So apologies to St. John's fans who will be tuning in, expecting, I don't know, Gus and Raph on the call.
That's the good news, is that we're on FS2, so maybe you don't expect Gus and Raph, and maybe you're pleasantly surprised to have a great time with two guys who are going to be excited. I've never been to Carnesecca Arena. I've never been, to experience the Johnnies in person. So I've seen them play at MSG, but I've never seen the real Johnnies experience. So
Jim, have you been to a game in Carnesecca?
I've been to Alumni Hall. Went to a ton of games, but I have not been since they changed the name to Carnesecca Arena.
What year did they do this? 2014, something like that?
Yeah, or 2004 maybe.
Wow.
Oh, really?
All right. So
they said Coach Carnesecca goes to some games.
Yeah.
That would be sick if he was there.
No, I've heard that Carnesecca, he's 98 years old, but I've heard that he tells stories of the old Big East to this very day as if he, like, seriously, like, that's how vivid his memory is. He can just conjure up stories from the old Big East.
I just picture, like, he's up in the top of the bleachers, and there's just, like, a bunch of kids just, like, huddling around him.
Yes.
And he's just, like
at a campfire.
Like, he's just the Messiah, just spreading the gospel to all these kids.
He's got a sweater on. Yeah. Amazing.
Anyway, that's honest to God fact. So if we understand that there's other stuff. The Gonzaga UCLA game is that night as well.
But after our game.
It's after our game.
Yeah.
So watch our game. Put it in your calendar. Set an alarm. Just throw it on. Like, you don't even have to watch. You don't even have to watch or listen. Just put your television on or log into whatever it is that gives you access. We just need to boost these ratings.
Yes.
Through the roof.
Are we wearing suits? What are we wearing?
I don't know, dude. I got one suit.
I got one suit too. And that's what
I've been dry cleaned in years. So I gotta figure that out.
I think we should wear sweaters. I really do.
Carnesecca sweaters.
But I'm scared if we wear Carnesecca sweaters and we're calling the game that the St. Francis crowd is going to be upset with us.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want to be biased. I want to be unbiased.
Who's the play-by-play and who's the color guy?
I think we switch.
I
think we switch at halftime. I think we do one or the other, and then we go back and forth. And then people are like, "What is happening on this broadcast?" It's called versatility.
Yeah. Yeah, we need the help from the friends of the program too on Twitter and whatever, because I have a feeling that there's going to be a contingent of St. John's fans that are like, canceled. I don't even know who these guys are, but please cancel them. And we need the
friends of the program to step out, stick their necks out, and say, no, don't cancel these guys.
Please don't cancel them.
We like their show. And they're just doing a bit. If you don't like what we're saying, it's just a bit. Don't worry about it.
It's just a bit.
Leave it alone.
Anyway, that's the announcement. We are calling the St. John St. Francis game. We are excited to do that, and we hope you're excited to come
New York
with
City.
us. I don't think it's going to be a very good game, but we'll do our best to make it a fun one. That's about all I can say.
Yeah, they told us the second half is for us, and we just hope that St. John's gets us there with the sizable lead, so we can talk about Coach K and whatever else we want to talk about.
Which is all we really want to talk about. Which great segue. Should we talk about Coach K?
I think we should.
We should talk it so. In case you missed it, folks, here's the story dominating college basketball. Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski is his name. He is retiring at the end of this season.
Yes.
This is his final season. He has won
farewell tour. 5
national championships. He has won over 1,100, is it now, basketball games?
Too many to count.
Man, he's won a lot of basketball. Some call him the GOAT.
LeBron calls him the GOAT.
This is his final season, and he is going to retire. So there's that part of the story. Also, look at Tate.
That is the baseline of all things that come after this. So that is where we always have to get back to. We have to revert back to this is Coach K's last season, and don't say last, okay?
Or is it his last? Because Coach K's grandson, Michael Savarino is his name, right? This is K's oldest daughter.
Not Michael Avenatti.
Yeah, different. Yeah.
Might get confused.
Don't get your wife. Michael
with who's
Avenatti.
letting down Duke? We don't.
This is K. If I have this right, his oldest daughter's son,
the chosen one.
Yes. So he is a walk-on turned scholarship player on the Duke basketball team. He is also if you're into the rumor mill, and I don't even know if this is a rumor, if this is like what was reported. So last year, Duke does not go to the ACC tournament. They punt on the season. As John Shire reminded me, I sent you that interview you did with Andy Katz at the start of the season where he's like, people forget our last 2 seasons have been ended because of COVID. And I was like, 2? What do you mean 2? And then that was right. That's right. They last year against the
they didn't miss the tournament.
Yeah, they didn't miss the tournament. COVID got them.
Yeah.
Those sons of bitches.
They opted out.
Yeah, they opted out.
Jalen Johnson opted out, and they as a program opted out.
But if you remember, the story was going into the ACC tournament, there was an outbreak of COVID within Duke basketball. There's some sort of I don't know.
That's why they didn't travel.
Something COVID related made him nix the rest of the season. And apparently, like
the losses.
K in the program did not hesitate to throw the walk-ons under the bus. I remember getting fired up about that.
Yes.
Like in the statement they put out, there's like, because our walk-ons are idiots, we have to cancel the season. Like that was basically paraphrasing what they said. And I remember getting really worked up about it. But apparently the word is that very walk-on who compromised last season for Duke, which they weren't going to win the ACC tournament anyway, but
or were they?
That very walk-on has since been put on scholarship. His name is Michael Savarino, and he is now once again putting Duke's season in jeopardy by getting pulled over for rolling a stop sign. He blows a .08. The reason this is noteworthy and worth talking about is because Paolo Banchero. I do like a buzz collar. I do like a shot collar every time I say Banchero. Was apparently in the car, and I didn't know this. You're the North Carolina guy. North Carolina law is that you can get in trouble for aiding and abetting a DWI if you're in the car and like knowingly let a guy who's been drinking drive. So Paolo Banchero gets caught up in all this. Was he detained? Not detained. He was questioned. He was brought in for questioning,
but not taken down to the station.
Yes. And all of this news breaks the same day that Duke plays Gardner-Webb, and Paolo Banchero starts for Duke, and Duke wins. And I guess, and then in the post-game press conference, Coach K is like, those are 2 completely different things between my grandson and Paolo. And everyone's like, are the 2 different things that Paolo is your star player and your grandson?
Look, there's nothing funny about a DWI at all. But there is something funny about Coach K's grandson chauffeuring Paolo Banchero around, because that is what we learned from this whole thing. This is what came out, that this is Paolo's car, but Coach K's grandson is driving him, and Paolo's not sitting in the passenger seat. He's sitting in the back seat. Like driving Miss Daisy. He was in the back seat getting chauffeured. So that is funny. So that's funny.
That's funny.
Like, that's the only thing that we have from this that's funny.
Anyway, we'll keep an eye on it.
It's not a fun story, but it's also, like I said, I mean, there are layers of it which are interesting.
I mean, you got to find humor.
It's interesting.
We're not trying to make light of drinking and driving. What we're trying to make light of is that Coach K's final season is going to be derailed by his dipshit grandson. That's objectively funny.
Yeah. And the guy that, traditionally probably would be in line to be the head coach at Duke. Like, if all things considered, like, if Coach K could really choose who could be the future of Duke basketball, he'd keep it in the family.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, it would be Chris Spatola. That'd be like the first call, and then it would be Savarino in 10 years.
You're right. Right. That's what makes it funny.
That's why it's hilarious.
What is not funny is that the Big East Conference has completely ruined Big Ten basketball, and it is only November 19th. What do I do, Tate? Where do we start? So if you haven't been following on the Fox family of networks, the Big East has ended the Big Ten. That's basically it. The Gavitt games have been going on.
Yeah.
Named in honor of Dave Gavitt, the guy who started the Big East Conference.
Did you know that Gavitt was on the committee that put the Dream Team together, by the way?
That guy was on it.
He was on every committee that mattered when you go back and you look at it. Yeah. Pretty wild.
He basically, he doesn't get enough credit for, basically starting ESPN, too, by the way.
Yeah. For at least jump starting it.
Without the Big East, ESPN, I don't know. That's the guy invented everything.
And there's even some people that have speculated that Kofi Cobra, the Illinois fans, that they have come out and they've reached out to me to say that his son, who is in charge of NCAA,
Dan Gavitt. Yeah.
Dan said, or he didn't say this, but they gave Kofi the 3-game suspension, which typically was a 2-game suspension, but he did this for the Gavitt games. I like that. I like the Illinois fans doing that.
That is absolutely not true, but I like it. I like it. But I like it.
I like that Dan Gavitt's looking at the suspension. He's like, just give him one more game. Give him one more for my dad. Give him one for my dad.
Oh, man.
Should we start with Michigan Seton Hall, right? I think
that's the big one, right? That's the big one. Michigan loses.
It's the most shocking one.
Yeah. Which, like, retroactively, maybe it shouldn't be, because Seton Hall, like, it's both shocking, but it didn't feel like a fluke, because Seton Hall's tough, man. And we should set the stage by also saying that these Gavitt games have blown the door wide open for us in trying to figure out who the second best team in the Big East is.
Yes.
Which, by the way, might be Villanova. It might be Villanova. I don't know. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it might be Villanova. It might be Villanova.
Who's the first best team?
I don't know. That's the real question.
Okay.
Who's the first best team?
Okay.
Villanova's second.
All right, I like it.
Who's the first best team? But anyway, enough of that. Let's get back to the
first best. Can we start making graphics with things like that? First best. Andy's putting his tiers out. We have first best, second best.
Yeah, let's start Seton Hall. My opening point was going to be that this did not feel like a fluke. This did not feel, which isn't to say that, like, you know, Seton Hall is a definitively better team than Michigan. It's more that Seton Hall played great defense. They played very, very tough against Michigan. They made big plays down. I mean, I don't know, all the cliches you want, where you come away from it thinking between Jared Roden and Trey Jackson was unbelievable in this game. That you start talking to yourself in, and you're like, oh my God, I think Seton Hall is just, like, legitimately a good basketball team, and this was not a fluke. Like, they just went and stole the game from Michigan.
I will tell you this: before the season started, when we were doing our previews, I had a Big East resource reach out to me, and I was, we were doing the same thing, like, who is the second best team in the Big East? And I was asking that sincerely, and I was told, based on practices that this person had seen, that Seton Hall was that team. So in the back
secret scrimmages, say.
Not the secret scrimmages, but the secret packers. These are one layer behind the cloak. And so I felt good about Seton Hall, but the idea that they were going to go to Michigan on a day that Juwan Howard had signed a 5-year extension, no less.
Ooh.
That was the other part of this.
Ooh.
He signs a 5-year extension. It's on the bottom line. It's Juwan Howard. He's going to be the best coach in basketball. Michigan, they're marching towards, these national titles and Final Fours that they're destined to have.
So you're saying Juwan Howard's coasting now? Like, now that he signed the contract, he's just going to not try?
I'm saying I was shocked that on the day that he signed the 5-year extension, that this is what happened on the other side of that. So that did, it just kind of ruffled me a little bit. I didn't expect Seton Hall to go ahead and make this leap early on, but the way this game was played, it was so mucky, and as it was getting mucked up, you could see that Seton Hall started to believe in themselves. Yes. And from there, I mean, obviously Michigan's going to figure it out. I'm not really
obviously?
worried. Yeah, they're going to figure it out.
Is it obvious?
It's obvious. I'm not too worried about Michigan.
Dude,
because I think Seton Hall's that good.
Caleb Houston goes 1 for 9 in this game.
Exactly.
Like, if you're betting on Caleb Houston going 1 for 9, that's your path to beating Michigan. You're probably going to lose that bet. Yeah, more often than not. What was alarming to me, Tate, it never clicked with me until I saw it happening, is that the game was on the line for Michigan, and Juwan Howard puts the ball in Eli Brooks' hands and says, "Go win us this game." And I this isn't even the Ohio State homer in me. I have to believe, if I'm a Michigan fan and I say those words, and I hear my coach say those words out loud, "Eli Brooks, go win us the basketball game." That's not where you want to be as a team. That's just not where you want to be. Eli Brooks. That's not what Eli Brooks does. Great player, good player. Kind of good player.
Good player.
We'll give him good player. He's a role guy. Eli, that's been his entire career. He's been like the guy that's in the corner that'll hit big shots. He can hit big shots. He is not the guy doing ISO ball with 10 seconds left on the clock. Go win us the game. That's not where you want.
And do they have that guy?
That's exactly
the
it.
Question.
That's what it clicked with me. I was like, I don't think they have that guy.
Houston's probably there.
Houston's got to be that guy, and he's not that guy yet. And which is why, bigger picture, I said coming into the season, I felt like Purdue was trying to suss out the Big Ten. Purdue and Michigan seem to be, one of those two is probably the best team for most people. I felt like Purdue was,
except for me, I keep falling in love with
Purdue is better suited in my mind to win the Big Ten, whereas Michigan is better suited to win a national championship. If I had to pick one team from the Big Ten that could compete for a national title, I still think it could end up being Michigan, because I think Caleb Houston has to become that guy. But I think Purdue is built for the long haul of the Big Ten schedule, and they're like better right now.
And we know who that guy is, late game situation.
Yes, they
it's
have.
Ivy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know. That stood out to me. Eli Brooks, if you're listening, I don't know. Why am I apologizing to Michigan?
Yeah, you don't have to.
I don't need to apologize.
You don't have to.
No, I don't want to be a hater, because I think Eli Brooks is a good player, and he'll hit big shots, and he's going to kill Ohio State. He'll probably score like 27 on us and not be able to miss. But that clicked with me when I was watching the end of that game, and I was like, oh my God, they're giving the ball to Eli Brooks to say go win us. That's not what he does.
Yeah.
That's just not what. That's not. He can do a lot of things great for Michigan. I don't love him in that spot. But I don't think they have anyone else.
And I think Michigan, this is one of those times where they realize when you are the number 4 team in the country, and even though Seton Hall's coming in, you might not be too hyped on this game, and you might think you can coast. You don't have the talent to coast to a win. You're not that much better.
Not that, they're not miles ahead of.
Exactly. And I think last year the team actually did have enough talent to be, coasting in some of these games with Shawnee Brown coming off the bench and things like that.
Isaiah Livers was awesome.
They had the players to kind of match the mentality, and I think this game maybe brought them back down to earth a little bit.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think we should.
Speaking of people that came back to earth, Mark Turgeon. Can we talk about that?
Please.
Because it just keeps on rolling.
Not to Gavin games, but we could talk about it.
But it just keeps on rolling.
Yeah.
It falls into the same, what is going on with the Big Ten? Every single day, another hit. In Maryland, George Mason, this is great for Larrañaga. We were talking about in the last episode. Yeah. We need the PR of Jim Larrañaga to get boosted. And George Mason, they give us this big upset. Then it beckons back to 2006. Everyone's talking about Larrañaga going to the Final Four again. So I don't know what we did to make that happen, but thank you, Universe. Appreciate that. I don't really have a big takeaway here than – if you're Maryland, you have to eventually move on. Like there has
From
to
Turgeon?
be, you have to. So there has to be a breaking point. What is the breaking point?
It's gonna come in mid-November.
Yes.
You think they put up with all these years of Turgeon just to in mid-November you lose one game and you fire him?
I don't even care. It's not even about the game. It's just how many times can we get just teased along the same path, right? They have to at some point say, I'm fed up with this. Let's do something different. Let's see if we can get. Hell, I would fire Turgeon and just move Danny Manning over to the head coach for the rest of the season.
I don't think you want to do that.
I would, just to change it up.
And I like Turgeon.
I'm just saying, you see that scoreline, you watch that game, you see the highlights. George Mason looked great, but Maryland, it comes back to what is Maryland doing? It just feels like they're just sitting here. And they're not making any moves.
It's the same thing, dude. They're gonna finish 4th in the Big Ten this year and make the Sweet 16, and then you're gonna look up and just be like, I don't think we can. I think like that's a good season for Maryland,
right? In NBA terms, it's like Maryland either
they're the Pacers.
Go all the way in or
that's
tank.
The Pacers.
Just tank.
That's the Indiana Pacers, dude. That is the Indiana Pacers every single. I don't even know what to pay. I have not paid a lick of attention to the NBA yet this season, and I'm willing to bet that the Pacers are between like the 4 and the. Look this up.
I'm gonna look it up.
I've not looked up the standings. I know the Warriors.
I don't know where they are.
I don't know anything else. I'm gonna guess the Pacers are. I don't think they're playing particularly well right now. So I get the feeling they're not. Especially going oof. I'm gonna say if the playoffs started today, they're the 11th seed.
They're the 13th seed, but they're right there. Yeah.
We got to figure it out.
Yeah, See,
we need the Pacers. Pacers got to bump it up, get to the 7th seed, lose in the first or second round, and that's how it goes. That's the Pacers' experience. Maryland. The real story coming out of the Maryland game is Kim English and George Mason, 33-year-old head coach, played at Missouri, Frank Haith. Back when Missouri was good. By the way, every time I bring up Missouri. Someone pointed this out. Like, we never talk about Missouri unless we're making jokes about Missouri. Yeah. Like, last year, Missouri went to the NCAA tournament. We never talked about Missouri. And then I've already made like 3 or 4 jokes this season about how bad Missouri is.
We spent an entire year talking about Michael Porter Jr. So
yeah, we did. Yeah. We gave him his own segment.
Yeah, we gave him an entire thing.
Kim English, though, head coach of George Mason, is a budding superstar in this industry, I believe. Tate. In all seriousness, I've talked to like 2 or I've never met Kim English, never talked to him. I have talked to a couple people that have talked to a couple people that know Kim English or been to one of Kim English's practice. Whatever, you know how this business works. I've been blown away by how many people, even before they beat Maryland, like coming into the season, how many people were telling me that Kim English is like very, very very smart.
Well, here's an idea.
Be awesome at.
Here's an idea.
What?
Maryland. Hire Kim English.
Just hire Kim English.
I mean, there you go. Like that you want to talk about a move that's gonna get things going again?
What if Maryland just straight up said before the NCAA tournament, if you beat us in the NCAA tournament, we will hire you? They just like put a bounty on Mark Turgeon's head, and they're like, whoever slays this man.
I love it.
Step right up, mid-major coaches. Beat us in the first round, and you are our new coach.
And Turgeon will get another job. You know what I mean? I'm not calling for anybody to be fired and be done with basketball. He'll get another job, but just let go of Maryland. Like Maryland, you talk about sleeping giants. Like Maryland right now is a giant, and it is just getting strangled. And it needs someone to go over there and say, "Hey, give it a rest. Let's reset this program. Let's get Gary Williams back around this program." Like, you know what I mean? Let's tap into ACC Maryland, because whatever this is. It's not working.
Let's get back to the Big East because actually, no, never mind. I'm looking at my list here. It says St. John's lost, Jim. Is that correct? St. John's lost to Indiana?
Yeah.
But I thought we were talking about how the Big East is beating all the Big Ten teams. That can't be right. What happened there?
I don't know. I think they cheated. Steroids.
Steroids. Can you imagine a basketball team doing doing anabolic steroids? Bunch of guys look like Dwayne Johnson.
I'm going to say this. I think Mark Gottfried has tried that.
Which coach is most likely? We talked about this, didn't we? Which coach is most likely to do steroids?
Bruce Pearl.
It's Bruce Pearl.
Yeah. So the internet confirmed us that it was Bruce Pearl. It checks out.
Yeah.
But this was a good game for Indiana.
Musselman would do it as a bit. Musselman would have his guys, would have his son, show him the stats, the number, how many retweets could we do on this? And he's like, I'll do it. I'll do a steroid cycle for 6 months. If I can
in my head, I see Eric Musselman. I'm closing my eyes. He's dressed up as Popeye. He's taking steroids to be Popeye. Yeah, that all checks out.
Let's talk about Indiana St. John's, though. This is the one glimmer of hope that the Big Ten has. This was a great game. I thought both of these teams, it got a little sloppy, but both of these, and that's not a pun about the chant that Indiana fans were chanting at Steph Smith.
What is it? There was a lot of drama. I guess we don't have to get into it, but an ex-girlfriend of Trace Jackson Davis and now dating Steph Smith, the starting guard for St. John's, and then because if you watch this game, it had a little. There was a little something else that was going on, and guys were trying to dunk on each other's heads and
flagrant foul.
A lot of flagrant
Mathis got ejected for breaking Trey Galloway's wrist. And I love Stephen Bardo on that call.
Bardo's the best.
Bardo was like, that's a play on. Or no, he said that, he goes, if this is anything more than a common foul, a mistake has been made. He's like, I don't see this as anything more than a common foul. And the refs take a look at it, and they're like, that's a flagrant 2. You're ejected.
Yeah, he throwing someone out. Bardo's like, whoa.
And Bardo's like, that can't be right. What happened? Let him play. This is basketball, I thought. And then Trey Galloway, we find out today, Trey Galloway literally broke his wrist, and he's out for however long because of that play. He never came back in the game. He broke his wrist.
I didn't know he actually broke his wrist.
Was like,
oh, my God.
Bardo's like, I don't even know if that's a foul. And if it is a foul, it's just a common foul.
Well, that's Big East basketball.
On the playground, you don't even get free throws for that. You check it back up top.
Your wrist dangling.
Indiana St. John, what were your thoughts? What is your takeaway from this game? Did Indiana win? Did St. John's win? Is this a moral victory for St. John?
My first thought initially was when you watch this game, I thought it was fascinating that Mike Anderson wore the Bobby Knight sweater. So if you turn this game on, you look over at the benches and you say, well, that must be Indiana over there because Mike Anderson.
Woody's saving it for the Purdue game, I think.
Well, I like Woody in the suit. You know what I mean? But I did also think that Mike Anderson was trying to get in his head by wearing the Knight sweater, in Assembly Hall in front of him. So I loved the way.
He's also like a bald black man that
it's like trying to get in his head.
It
was a very Mick Cronin move, like what he did to Jay Wright.
Mike Anderson should have grown out the goatee too, and really.
That's how it looked on television. You're just like, what is happening here? Is Indiana? Why? What? And as it's going on in this game, and I promise you this, and I can't get these stats, but if Archie Miller coached that game against St. John's, Indiana loses.
100%. No question about it.
That was what I loved about this game because St. John's came out. They were trying to hit him in the mouth. They're a great defensive team. They were trying to basically do their best to punk Indiana, Trace Jackson Davis, and they refused.
Yes.
And they fought.
Yes.
And they played with a lot of heart, and they battled back in this game. And you could see the crowd, the Indiana Assembly Hall crowd, they got their respect.
Right.
And I, as I watched this game, all I could say to myself was, the Big Ten is floundering over here as a conference, but Indiana, a program that would usually lose this game if it was any other head coach, they figured it out. And I've been all about Woody. You and I, we both think Mike Woodson's going to be a good coach, but I've been waiting to see a moment where I can say,
there's a difference.
And that was what it was. It was a validation for everything I believe.
You're 100% right. If Arch is coaching that game, the buttholes get super tight.
Super tight.
As St. John's makes the comeback.
Yes.
And St. John's tied it up immediately out of the gate in the second half, and then Indiana started pulling away again, and then they tied it up again towards the end. But towards the end, if what was happening at the end of that game happens 2 years ago, it's a wrap. It might, best case scenario, it goes to overtime. Indiana loses by 3, and then the positive Indiana fans are like, we showed a lot of good stuff out there. We might be okay. I don't know. It's St. John's is going to make the tournament probably, so that's not a bad. That was the place Indiana was in, and you're absolutely right. I think the fans could feel that St. John's was throwing that press at IU. They were making a lot of mistakes. IU was turning the ball over, getting pretty sloppy at times. But the confidence never wavered. They weren't getting the ball over the half court line and then getting their buttholes tight and being now what?
The perfect example of this is the first basket made in this game. St. John's hit a 3, And you said it. St. John's like to set up that press. Before they could set up the press, Indiana, instead of being like, they made a three, crap. Yeah. They'd already inbounded the ball, got down the court, then hit a three of their own.
Yes.
And that to me already said we have a different mentality than what we had been seeing at IU. We're not gonna deflate after someone hits us in the mouth. We're gonna answer the bell. And that's how they played the whole game. And Mike Woodson was cool, calm, composed. I was impressed with Indiana, but I also like St. John's a lot as a team. And
I love St. John's.
Champagne's a star.
He's the Big East Player of the Year.
Absolutely.
He should already win it right now.
I agree.
He should win it right now.
He's going to lead the conference again in scoring.
Who's the second best team in the Big East? It might be Villanova. Who's the first best team in the Big East?
St. John's.
And who's the second best player in the Big East? Those are the big questions I have.
Because
Champagne's winning Big East Player of the Year.
So the two best players in the Big East might be on St. John's.
Now hang on a second.
I'm just kidding. I just love Posh.
I'm
all in on Posh. I love the energy. I love the defensive intensity. But Julian Champagnie, I'm being serious about. That guy's going to play in the league. And I saw this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I saw this.
Might be a first rounder, dude, if he keeps this up, what he's doing so far.
Mike Anderson gave him Cam Johnson tape to watch and said, watch this guy. Did you see how far he was pulling threes from it? I mean, he's pulling threes from 27 feet, and it's nothing. It's casual. And it's accepted by the team because they're like, he has the ultimate green light.
Love it.
Big fan of Champagne.
He's going to be awesome to watch this season because St. John's plays really fast, and as you said, he's got an ultra green light, and you put those two together, and that is a fun player to watch.
I'm having a great time.
I'm certainly having fun. You having fun, Jim?
Yeah, it was great.
Tuesday night, though, we get to see Champagne. That's going to be the best.
Yeah, in person. The other things I wanted to say about this Indiana St. John's game, Jordan Geronimo and Tamar Bates, you officially have my attention. They're not there yet, but Jordan Geronimo comes in towards the end of the game, has like 7 points out of nowhere. You want to talk about like having the green light? This dude was just like, I'm winning this game for Indiana, and half of Assembly Hall is like, who's this kid again?
Yeah,
like, what? Who is this kid? And Tamar Bates is going to be – he's not there yet, but like he's got to start by the end of the year.
I was going to say, there's another layer.
11 points in 11 minutes?
Yeah, there's another layer of like Mike Woodson's guys that are going to be playing for Indiana. Like once he gets hit – like we always joke about like the coaches got to get their guys in. I'm excited to see Mike Woodson's guys because I like Trace Jackson Davis a lot, but Trace Jackson Davis is a holdover from the last regime. Yeah. And when he gets his main guy, all-star, they're going to be a
Bates,
force.
Dude. It's going to be Bates. The other thing to love about Bates is he's a guard who wears number 53, which is that always works.
Strong.
For me. Guards that wear big numbers always work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Cole Anthony. 50.
What? That might be the one exception. What the hell are you doing 50, dude? But Indiana ultimately, the one, like if you're making the case to be worried about Indiana, and this is the same old IU, it's they were horrible from the free throw line. They were not great from the 3-point line. This is the one holdover from Archie Miller era. I know, but it's gonna bite him at some point.
These are
dude.
Archie's players.
I know they got it. You have to make shots to win at this level, Tate. You do. You have to make shots, and if Indiana's not making shots, I'm worried they're gonna lose some stupid games this year that they shouldn't. But they look great. I think both those teams are making the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Agreed. 100%.
Locks?
I think locks. I think I do.
Should we simulate the rest of the season? We already got the Big East figured out. We got the NCAA. We got both these teams, the bubble figured out. We got everything figured out. Let's just simulate the rest of the season.
Let's do it. I'm in.
What else stood out from Big East? Anything else you want to talk about?
Do I have to bring it up?
What?
Do we have to talk about it?
What happened?
I mean, you predicted this was going to happen.
Dude, I don't know what you're talking about.
Ohio State?
Oh. I was at the beach, dude. I was surfing all day. I didn't see. I drove straight here. I have no idea.
Well,
one
of my favorite rules on this program is that if we did not watch the game, it did not count.
Dude, I was surfing.
So if you want to pull that card, and I'm going to pull that card quite a few times this season, it looks like. So you did not watch this game. Do you need me to get you up to speed?
Dude, I live in Los Angeles, Tate. Like I don't have time to be watching Cincinnati Like I don't
Ohio
care.
games.
I don't care, dude. I'm out here living my best life. I'm not trying to watch that.
I think LeBron was watching. It was on his story.
Tell me what happened. Tell me what I missed.
I mean, you didn't miss much. The 5th time that Xavier and Ohio State played each other, the last 3 times they went into overtime. The only time that it didn't go into overtime in series history was back in 1933. Based on the graphic we had, and it was 31-19. So this was a historical game, and the first time these two programs have met, Titus.
Yeah.
Last time you were on the team.
I was on the bench, yeah.
2007.
Yeah, if you watch the clip of Ron Lewis hitting the shot, I'm the one guy on the bench that's still sitting on the bench. The rest of our team was standing up.
Yeah.
Including Danny Peters, who's now an assistant coach at Xavier. I texted him, by the way, after the game. I sent him. He hasn't hit me back. I sent him the the screenshot of Larry Bird and Jordan hugging from the from the Last Dance.
The best.
Danny's assistant on Xavier. What I was gonna say was I'm the only guy sitting on the bench because what's going through my head at that time was trying to figure out what I was gonna do for spring break because I had already planned that we were going to win the national championship, and now I was like, we're gonna lose to these bums from Xavier.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there just like, I don't know. I guess I could drive to Florida. I don't know. Like what I don't know. And as I'm thinking that, Ron hits the shot, and then I was like, what just happened? I was trying to not watch. I was trying to that was the
you
birth.
were disassociating.
That was the birth of the if you don't watch it doesn't happen mindset.
Yeah.
That was the first time, and I didn't actually see the shot live. That's my story. I didn't actually see it go in. I just saw like our team lose their minds, and I stood up and I was like, "What happened? Did we do it?" And I put my arms in the air.
No, I mean it's the best feeling. I remember used to watching Tiger Woods back in the day. I'd watch him hit the putt, like I'd watch like the putter, and then I would just not look at the hole. You know what I mean? I would just watch the putter and I'd stay straight. And then I'd watch the reaction behind him.
Did you ever do have you ever done a move with sports where you turn the TV off?
Oh yeah.
Like the game-winning field goal gets kicked, and you just turn it off, and you just sit there and like take.
You want to know the worst one?
Deep breaths, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna turn it back on and see what happened.
2016 national title game. I see Archie Diacono.
Oh,
shovel
really?
it back, and I cut it off.
No.
And I was watching by myself.
Oh no!
And I cut it off, and I was literally my phone started buzzing because my mom was already calling me, and I thought it was like maybe overtime because I saw my phone ring, and then I turned it back on, and it was just
confetti.
I saw confetti.
Oh no!
It was heartbreak.
Oh no!
So don't do that, kids.
Don't do that.
Don't ever do that. But back to Xavier, Ohio State.
Congratulations to Xavier. Hang the banner. This was a huge deal for them. This is probably the biggest win I would say in Xavier history. Yeah, I don't know. Hang the banner. They have no other banners to hang in that program. So I don't know what banners do you think hang in the Cintas Center? We were a 1 seed in 2018, and then
I think there's just like
our
a
coach
picture
left
of
us.
JP McCura that is just like sitting up there.
Yeah,
and it's just.
I do think they have a banner. I think they have a banner that says these coaches left us, and then it's just a list of Skip Prosser, Chris Mack, Thad Mahata, Sean, and they're just like all
Xavier,
these guys left us.
Throw up the X. Congratulations, you
sons
got
of
to win.
Bitches. Yeah, you won. Congratulations. But I said they were going to win on the show, and I wasn't even being pessimistic. Like I knew Xavier was. I've been to a game there. I watched Xavier play Villanova a few years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago at this point. That place is nuts. That arena they have. It is an awesome. But we should go to a game there sometime.
And Paul Scruggs in this game. I mean, down the stretch.
He's nasty.
Yeah.
Xavier's good. I think Xavier's going to end up being the second best team in the Big East. They're going to beat out.
Maybe the first best team.
Or first best team. I don't know because Zach Freemantl's their best player. He didn't even play in this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ohio State, Justice Sewing's out for God knows how long. I don't think he's coming back till like January or something. And I knew we had too many young guys that like this was their first taste of. Because last year also we didn't have fans and everything. So like this is like kind of the first taste. I don't know. I'm not making excuses. I'm explaining why I didn't have a lot of faith going into this game in the first place. I knew that environment was going to swallow us alive, and this mattered. Frankly, like all jokes aside, this did matter much more to Xavier than it did to Ohio State. Absolutely, right?
Yes, of course.
Thank you, Tate.
Of course, but also, can we say I have the panic button? My hand's hovering over it. I'm about to hit it because Ohio State, we have no guards. We have no guards to help E.J. Liddell. We have no guards to help Braxton Key. We have no guards to help Kyle Young. We have 3 legit bigs, and like they're small bigs, but they're modern bigs, and I like how they can impact the game. But Michi Johnson, I told you he's a 50-50 guy. It's either 50, it's going to go great, or 50, it's going to go horrifically bad. And I don't see them finding a guy unless, maybe a guy like Michi steps up and evolves in some capacity. Are you worried about that?
No, I'm not panic. I'm not hitting the panic button. I will concede. No, I'm not even hovering.
Hovering.
I will concede. I did Google what is the process of panicking, just to get a quick refresher.
Yes.
Just to just to remind myself of what are the stages of panicking, But no, I don't even know where the button is, dude. The button is. I'd have to dig it up out of the attic somewhere. I don't know. I don't know. No, I'm not panicking. Do I look like I'm panicking?
He's not panicking.
Do I look like I'm panicking, dude? Does it look like I'm panicking?
No.
That Seth Towns and Justice Sewing and Kyle Young, that every single guy on our team gets hurt, and then apparently just sprained ankles don't exist at Ohio State. Why is it that every other school, a guy gets hurt, he's out for 3 weeks, and then he comes back, and now he's fine to play, and at Ohio State, Lord knows what's going on with Seth Towns and Justice Suing. And
so you're blaming the medical staff?
Maybe, honestly. Doc Jones, get it together, dude. What are we doing? What are we doing?
He's gonna get this
why do all these send it to Doc Jones, dude? Why do all these injuries linger? Why are all these guys like figure it out?
Why are we lingering?
Why are we lingering? Modern medicine is amazing. Let's get with the times.
Yes.
Run some tests.
Let's go to Germany.
Let's get the, for God's sakes, I've seen the facility we have where you got the underwater pool where you can run underwater, on the underwater pool treadmill thing.
I think it's a LeBron pool.
Dude, freaking get these guys on that and run that thing. I'm sure that works. Do that. Do a few cycles of that and we'll be healthy, I'm sure. I don't know how it works. The point is it's not my job to know. Figure it out, Doc Jones.
I don't think that you guys fall out of the top 25 though, right?
Because we probably do. We should.
Xavier should be in the top 25 though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
But so should Indiana and St. John. I don't know. There's only 25 teams that can be in
Indiana
the top 25,
might be.
So. We're going to shut up. We're going to let Dana O'Neill talk. We're going to talk to her about her book about she wrote a book about the Big East, the old Big East. What is better than the old Big East? Absolutely nothing. Let's talk to Dana O'Neill about it. All right, joining us now is Dana O'Neill, writer for The Athletic, and author of a book you can see behind her right there. Look at that. Look at those.
Yeah.
That looks good. You got them set up behind you back there. It is about Big East basketball, and it is called, are you ready for this, Tate?
Yes.
Here's the title of the book.
Okay.
The Big East.
Boom.
Great title. Inside the most entertaining and influential conference in college basketball history. It is out now. You can go purchase it. Read all about the best. We love the old Big East.
We love the old Big East.
And Dana, this is perfect timing to have you on because right now the Big East is the talk of college basketball, dominating the Gavitt games and all. The synergy is absolutely perfect. I'll start with this, Dana. What is let's just start broad. What was the motivation behind this? Why write this book?
Yeah, I love to think that I was brilliant and I just saw this great story idea and this great book idea. I actually wrote a story about coaches meetings in the old Big East and how crazy they got. And a book agent reached out to me and said, yo, I think this would be a really good book. And I honestly was like, wait, nobody wrote a book on the Big East yet? You've got to be kidding me. That had to be done. And he said, absolutely not. So when he told me that, I was in. I mean, I grew up watching it. I covered it a ton. I knew so much of what, it was all about. So to me, the crazy stories and I don't know, just the crazy games, all of it merited being told in some sort of a narrative form.
Oh, wow. And Dana, you mentioned that you grew up a Big East fan. So, I mean, that adds a whole nother layer to this thing. Is there anything, any gossip, any storyline that you went into the book and you said, I really got to figure this out. I got to figure out what Raleigh Massimino was doing. Is there anything like that?
Set this record straight.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not probably one, but there were so many stories that, I heard about, okay, the sweater game between, Luke Carnesecca and John Thompson and, the fights between Jim Boeheim and John Thompson and Rollie Massimino and, how he would go and scream at people in the hallways and all this stuff. So you heard all these crazy stories and you kind of assumed that they were true because if you knew the people involved, you're like, yeah, they're crazy. They're probably true. But you didn't, right? It checks out. But you didn't actually know the backstory of what they were truly about. So to hear Gary Williams tell me about chasing Rollie Massimino at halftime at a game in BC because he was convinced Rollie was going to get on the officials, and Rollie turned and screamed at him, yo, get back in your locker room, and Gary turned to go back to the locker room and was like, wait, this is my gym. You don't get to tell me where to go. It was crazy. It was crazy the stuff went on in that league.
Did you ever figure out why it makes sense. Coaches, it's a competitive business. Everyone wants to win. There can only be one winner every game. We know that. But I don't know. There's a lot of high stakes college basketball going on all around the country. What is it about this group of guys? Because this is like Tate grew up an ACC fan. I grew up a Big Ten fan. And when we grew up, we still heard about this stuff. We heard about
somehow the old Big East got to us.
Why what was it about the makeup of? Was it just these particular men? Do you think it was something about the Big East as a conference? What's your takeaway with all that?
I think it was a combination. Yeah, I mean, partially the makeup of these guys. They were just all sort of loud, and one was bigger than the next. I mean, not necessarily physically, but just in personality. A lot of them were out to prove themselves. It's kind of hard to think now, but Jim Boeheim was just getting started as a head coach. John Thompson had been a high school coach. PJ Carlissimo was coming out of Wagner. Rollie was hired out of nowhere. So none of them were who we know them are now. So they were all trying to prove themselves. But then you mix in kind of the flavor of the league. It was nasty. I mean, it was street ball. It was rough. I mean, there were fights. They went to 6 fouls for a while.
That's
because
right.
They were all ready to just throw punches, right? So you add all of that, and it just made it just so crazy and flamboyant. I think it's the only word I can come up with sometime to describe that league.
Every time that we talk to anyone that grew up watching the Big East in the 80s, they start talking and you start wondering how many casualties there were in the league. Like how many people survived?
Is there a cemetery for all the people that like lost their lives playing Big East basketball? Because that's
seriously
like there's like
that's like the conversation.
There should be.
And then the next step, Dana,
yeah, I mean it's crazy.
Well,
fights. I mean, literal like fist fights, like throwing punches, like just haymakers, crazy haymakers.
Is there a fight that stands out to you then that really in this book that you were able to dive into?
I mean, the one that I was really surprised, there was a moment where Pearl Washington kind of threw a punch at Patrick Ewing and Patrick went back at him. And if you think about it, like Pearl was not, I mean, Patrick's a big man. Pearl Washington was not a big man. And Pearl kind of threw like a kind of a cheap shot that the refs of course didn't see. And Patrick was like, what in the world? And he went to like double back on Pearl Washington. And the dude who played the Dome Ranger, which was kind of like the hokey homemade mascot that Syracuse had at the time, he said, I told Pearl afterward, he hit your aura. He said, I could feel the punch like coming at me sitting on the sideline. Like if he connected, Pearl Washington would have been like splattered on the floor easily. It was crazy.
I love these stories.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem, I guess, Dana, is that we're all nostalgic for the old Big East. It's fun to talk about this era of the past. And we're all upset about how the Big East dissolved and how football won out and all this sort of stuff. But at the same time, you hear yourself saying these words out loud. Like, can you imagine if this was happening? Like, there was always an expiration date on quote unquote the old Big East, right? Like, there's no way we could have kept 100%. This going forever. There's no way.
No, I mean, and you think there's so much of the stuff that I was like researching, and I mean, horrible things. Like, you know, Patrick Ewing, they threw like banana peels at backboards when he hit shot free throws. And the weird thing was you would read a story about it in the old newspapers and they'd be like, yeah, that happened. And that was it. It was like, wait, what? Like, no, like there's no column. There's no like 500 follow-up stories. Like, no, that just happened. And the same with this crazy stuff. I mean, yeah, you couldn't have, play. I mean, the Final Four between Syracuse and Providence, like in the middle of the Final Four national semifinal, those guys went at it. Like Billy Donovan is like running around the court, like ducking away from punches. Like that could not happen today. It couldn't. I wish it could, but it absolutely could not.
It would be cool if it happened like once. Just give it a taste. Yeah. I don't want to happen all the time. That's too much.
Yeah, and the other thing about the old Big East is that you can somehow trace all of the trends of today back to the old Big East. When you talk about the three-point revolution, we go back to Rick Pitino in Providence. You mentioned Billy Donovan. So, I mean, how much of that was fun just being able to kind of point to the direct source of all these seismic shifts in basketball in general?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that really resonated with me. Like, I kind of knew the league and all the funny stories, but when you think about the impact it had on college basketball, so many things. Like, Dave Gavitt was so ahead of his time. Look, the partnership with ESPN has been, like, talked about endlessly, but it really was brilliant. It made the Big East a national league by going coast to coast. That was one. The idea of having the tournament in Madison Square Garden, like this place where everybody went for all the big games, that was another. The three-point shot, that, like you said, that Pitino brought to the game. I mean, there were so many things. Guard play, the big man. I mean, there were so many things that the Big East did that was so ahead of their time, but still resonate today. They still matter today.
What's your favorite thing that you were reminded of or maybe learned for the first time in researching this? We all kind of know some of the bigger bullet points talking about the Big East, but what was the one thing that you're like, I completely forgot about this, or I had no idea this even happened?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of them, like, funny stories. Like, Jay Wright was telling a story, like Rolly Massimino used to have like essentially anybody he wanted on the bench, like Tommy Lasorda, Perry Como. I mean, anybody that seriously, like they would fly in and they would get us. They did. They would come in and have dinner at Rolly's house before the game, and then he would give them a seat on the bench. Like the NCAA made a rule like that you couldn't have people that weren't on your staff on the bench because of Rolly Massimino. And so I guess John Thompson got really ticked off about like all these people that were on the bench, and Jay was telling a story like in the Spectrum once, like in the old Philadelphia Spectrum, coming down the hallway, and Thompson is screaming and basically MFing Rolly about who's going to be on the bench, and they practically come for blows, and Jay's like, oh my God, I'm going to have to like separate these two, and then they just start laughing and walk off. and they go out and like Tommy Lasorda's on the bench. What? Like Tommy Lasorda sat on the Villanova football bench. Like what?
Those are the best stories. You mentioned Big John. I think we have to give him his own separate space here because he was so revolutionary and so legendary and so ahead of his time. But one of the things I remember, one of the quotes that someone said about him was that he wanted the media and all the people to hate him so that they would love his team. And that was why he acted in such a brash way. I mean, can you speak to that a little bit, doing your research about Big John and just his influence?
100%. A lot of what people don't understand about what John was about was, I mean, part of it, he did like it. He liked to have fun with people and, tweak them, certainly. Like, he kind of liked that nobody knew where the team was staying, and he played into all that. But a lot of it was protection. I mean, Patrick Ewing went through hell as a high school basketball player in Boston, just with all kinds of racist nonsense, and again, as a player. And John also knew that he was recruiting a lot of young black men, and people were going to want to criticize them coming to Georgetown. And so he thought, I'll take the heat so they don't have to. But he also, what I thought was really interesting, regularly would stop practice and just say, look, put the ball away. We're going to talk about something that's going on in the world right now because you guys need to be educated on your place in the world that has nothing to do with basketball. He did that all the time. So, I mean, you can't understate how important John Thompson was in the life of every player that he coached.
He was definitely the guy that, I mean, obviously he was the biggest coach of all the guys, but he was definitely, would you agree, Dana, that in the room, when all these fights are breaking out and all these coaches are at each other's necks, John's the one, if there's one person in that room that has control over everyone else, it was Big John?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
always the vibe I got.
He would sit in the corner. Yeah, he would sit in the corner. Sometimes he didn't go to the meetings because he said he didn't play golf, so he didn't go. But if he did go, he'd sit in the corner and like puff on a cigar and basically let them all scream and yell at one another. And then he'd get his big voice going, and whatever he said, it stuck. Like, Mike Tranghese told me a great story about how when he took over as commissioner, John was worried about whether he was going to be kind of bowled over by the football schools. And he kind of summoned him to DC, took him to this out of the way hole in the wall in DC and sat him down and basically was like, all right, I need to know, what side of the fence you're on. And Mike sold him on, like, you can trust me. And years later, when Mike decided they wanted to move the Big East tournament final to Saturday night, which of course now makes great sense, but at the time everyone was fighting against, John said, no, it's a good idea. And lo and behold, every single coach went along with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about that? You're a Penn State alum. Do I have that correct? Because you need to speak on behalf.
Okay,
of,
now let me just take the needle out of my heart.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say,
I'm not sure what's coming.
Can you? Yeah, I know we can take this a million different ways, but I'll take it this way. My understanding is it's kind of Penn State's fault that the Big East dissolved, because if Penn State would have joined the Big East, they could have brought the football program and kept the Big East afloat. Yeah. Would you like to apologize on behalf of Penn State for destroying the greatest basketball league we've ever seen?
Here's the thing, though. Before that, Joe Paterno tried to join the Big East. He wanted to kind of talk about coming in 1982, and the Big East coaches, the Big East administrators voted 5-3 against it. So it was more like the St. John's there and the basketball playing schools. They were like, no. You guys stink at basketball. They couldn't see the part, they couldn't see 10 years down the road, like, we're going to need a good football program. They said, no, your basketball
is the original football.
We don't want you.
We were acting holier than that way before football.
So technically, it's not Penn State's fault. So there you go.
Well, there you go. All right. I heard the story wrong. I heard that Penn State decided to the Big Ten batted its eyelashes at Penn State, and then Penn State was like, all right, I'll go over here instead.
Yeah, I mean, there was sort of a little back and forth. That was the first run, and then Joe kind of came back to them, and they went back to, it kind of went back and forth. But the first vote was the Big East saying no, thank you, which is hilarious.
Would that be the big what if we're looking back on the arc of the Big East? Is probably Penn State. If Penn State was in there, is that the big one? I guess I don't know.
I think so. I mean, look, I don't know if you can draw a direct straight line to say none of what we're having now doesn't happen, because who knows, but. I mean, you think you got Penn State, Syracuse, Boston College, Pitt. They're all in a league together. Theoretically, other teams would want to join in with them. I mean, I gotta think that it might have survived, but I guess eventually the same friction that happened with the schools that didn't have football would probably still occur. Like, what happens to Georgetown and Villanova and Providence? The St. John's, they don't have the football. it's still going to get messy at some point.
Yeah, and I think that's the big takeaway is like there was always an expiration date, and the current iteration of the Big East, at least, it works. I mean, like obviously,
the new Big East is fun.
Yeah, it works. So like we got there, we figured it out. It just it took some bumps along the way. Who's the one person from Big East lore that we don't think about that because like there's so many coaches. Yeah, Jim Boeheim would say it's Jim Boeheim. Jim Boeheim's like, it's me. It's always me. There's so many coaches and players that played or coached, obviously, in this conference that it's easy to lose track of them. And as we've talked about the big ones, the guys that immediately come to mind. Is there somebody that I don't know, people might forget played here or coached in this conference?
Well, I think people forget Bill Raftery coached at Seton Hall.
Yes.
You know,
that's a good one. That's a great one. That is a great one.
Right? Like, and they were horrible. That's kind of why people forget that Raft coached at Seton Hall. But, you know, he has that sort of history of, he tells a hilarious story about being the coach at Seton Hall. They're awful. And Richie Regan was the athletic director, and he calls him up to the office at 5 o'clock. And Raph is like, you know, usually Richie Regan would have like a Doers and Coke and be out of the office at 5. He's like, why are you calling me to the office? And he's like, yo, we're going to join this new league, and here's who's in it. And Bill said, I had a few choice words for him, many of which began with the letter F, because he knew he was just doomed. He was going to get his rear end kicked. But like, that's Raph. Like, how could you not forget? You can't forget that Raph was a coach.
Grant Hill doesn't forget. Grant Hill still calls him coach in the booth.
He does.
Like he hasn't coached in 40 years, and Grant still's like, Coach, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, that's respect.
Looking around.
It's kind of like Lee Corso and all, and like, you know, Lou Holtz used to be. They didn't coach for like 50 years, but they get to be coached forever. Yeah. Same idea.
Dana, how many? If we control F your book, your PDF, how many mentions of Coach K in this thing? It has Coach K did not coach in the Big East, but Coach K finds his way into everything about college basketball. What's the over/under on Coach K mentions in this book about the Big East?
I'm trying to think. He's in there a bit because, of course, like, you know, they had to play him in the Final Fours, right? So like he was a factor.
All right,
that's
right. Like he was in those '89, like with Syracuse, or excuse me, Seton Hall and all like that. Like he factors in, and so yeah, he gets in there, but not that much.
All right, not that much. Oof. Yeah, all right.
I'd say under 20. Under 20.
That's fine. That's fair.
Yeah.
No, we can't, honestly, we can't even do a podcast without keeping it under 20 mentions.
We already brought him up in the Big East segment. We can't help ourselves.
I didn't. You did. That's right.
Exactly. What else, Tate? What else we got?
I mean, the only thing I was going to say, with the new Big East doing so well and thriving so well, it's been 10 years since Dave Gavitt passed away. How does it feel just to have this momentum? Is this good for the book to have the current Big East doing so well? Or was that purposeful?
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could just keep. Yeah, I called them all and said, look, please don't stink this year. I need to sell some books. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's really great to see the start they're having, because I think, I'll be honest, when the league first reformed, I was one of the skeptics. Like, I don't know, is this going to actually work? But it's been fantastic. But Villanova has carried the water for that league pretty much by itself, right? So they need other teams to be good. I mean, I know Creighton's been good. I know, you know, other teams. Seton Hall had a great run with Miles Powell. They've had good teams. I don't mean to say that, but they need other teams to become consistently good. Adding UConn is awesome. It's such a name brand thing for the league. That's great. But, you know, they need other teams to consistently challenge. And I think, honestly, if St. John's and Georgetown could get it back, that would help the league so much, just because that's what people remember when they think of the Big East,
Georgetown
right?
did it last year. I mean, Patrick Ewing, that was a beautiful run to the, you know, get to the tournament and obviously win the Big East. And then St. John's this year, Julian Champagny leading the league in scoring. Yeah, I kind of like that team. Posh Alexander.
Yeah. I think they've got a chance to get their act together really by March and be pretty threatening by the end. I'm not so sure about Georgetown. That opening loss to Dartmouth was a bit difficult.
But the Ivy League is good, Dana.
The Ivy League is good. That's true.
Tate loves the Ivy League because Tate loves the Ivy League because Brown played North Carolina pretty close. And he's just like he's trying to.
That's all
there you go.
Brown.
I remember hearing a story that Bob Knight that Jim Calhoun once wanted to take the job or considered the job at Northwestern. This was like a million years ago, and he called Bob Knight, and Bob Knight told him, do not come to the Big Ten, because the Big Ten is about institutions and the Big East is about coaches. And to that point, there's never been a greater collection of personalities and coaches, because that's ultimately what college basketball is. It's about these coaches are the stewards. The players come and go, but these are the guys This is the greatest collection of coaches. That's what made the Big East great. Dana, thank you for telling the story. Thank you for writing it. We got to read this book.
We're going to read this
We got to find the book. We love the old Big East so much.
I'll quiz you later.
I love hearing about Tommy.
I really appreciate it.
That's the big takeaway. Tommy Lasorda on Raleigh Massimino's bit.
Massimino's the best.
Yeah.
He's the best. Dana O'Neill, the Big East. The book is about the Big East. It is called The Big East. Go buy it. Go read it. Thank you so much for joining us, Dana.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you to Dana for joining us. Go buy her book, please. For
Seriously.
the love of God. For the love of
We're
God.
going to read that book.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that book. We're going to learn some stories about the old Big East because you and I love being a part of the conversation when it comes to the old Big East. And I need some more ammo.
Nostalgia doses, like being able to even like, I don't know, I don't want to, pat myself on the back too much. And I brought up that little anecdote about Bob Knight talking to Jim Calhoun.
Yeah,
and then
like that.
your eyebrows raised. You're like, wow, this guy must know his stuff. I forget where I read that. I think like Jim Boeheim's autobiography. I remember reading about that. But this is the point, too. You got to get those nuggets.
It always comes back to Boeheim.
It always does. Dana also, I meant to tell her this. She is one of 3 college basketball writers that I respect. I only respect 3.
Nice.
She's one of them.
You won't tell us the other two.
I won't tell you the other 2, but she's one of them.
Seth Davis is sitting at
like
home right now, rubbing his hands together.
There's only 3 of them. She's one of them. So go buy her book. Do us a favor. Help her out. Go do that. All right, moving on. We got to do fraud power rankings quickly, and then we'll get to shout-outs and closeouts and wrap this thing up.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, fraud power rankings. Here's where I see it. Number 5 on the fraud power rankings this week. This hurts, man, because I'm wearing a UCLA shirt right now.
It looks good.
Yeah.
It looks really good. Jordan Brand does it again.
Yeah.
I just love that Michael Jordan, my favorite player and the greatest player of all time, is now on every program that I respect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a few more on the way. More programs I respect.
Number 5 on the fraud power rankings, Pauly Pavilion.
Oh, my.
And I'm going to tell you why.
Sway? Why?
Why? I went to
How dare you?
I went to the dude, I call it like I see it, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to,
No, it's okay.
It's a hard job. It's not easy to sit in this chair and call people frauds.
Hey,
it's not. I might make it look easy. It's not.
The blue blood fan experience is always tough. You know what I mean? Because you got to deal with the blue hairs. And the blue hairs.
You were dealing with the blue seats on this night because Pauly Pavilion, we watched them play Villanova. The place is rocking. It's all everyone's talking about.
Yes.
Anyone that goes to multiple UCLA games is like, I haven't seen this place this crazy in
ever.
Fill in the blank many years. Not since John Wooden was here has this place been this nuts. That's all everyone's talking about. So I thought, you know what? I got to go to a game. I gotta get in on this action. See what. Now they were playing North Florida. North Florida is 0-4 going into this game. I knew it wasn't going to be Villanova, but I thought maybe it's going to be a little different. Maybe there's going to be a little bit of juice. Maybe there's going to be a little something. Westwood was a buzz on this night. There was an energy to the air. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm driving around trying to find a place to park. Man, this place is crowded. What's going on? Couldn't believe it. Then I'm walking through the cute little area of Westwood that butts up against the campus. You know what I'm talking about?
On Gailey Avenue.
Yes. Yeah. I'm walking that little area, and then I see why there's a buzz. The Ghostbusters movie is doing like a premiere or something, and there's a bunch of nerds just wearing Ghostbusters outfits out the line out the door.
The Sexiest Man Alive.
Yeah.
Runner up to Coach
There's
K.
a line out the door, and I shake my head because I'm like, this is disgusting. Like in any other teams ranked second in the country, the town's shutting down, and we're going to watch the number 2 team. Not the case. So I go to a bar before the game to grab dinner, and I walk into one place, strike out there. I end up at Barney's Beanery. You're familiar with Barney's Beanery in Westwood. That's where we end up. It's got a bunch of TVs on. I want to watch the IU St. John's game. I walk in. They have 1,000 TVs in this place. Half of them are showing the Lakers game. The other half are showing like the surfing channel.
Yes.
And then there's like 2 or 3 that are showing the Brooklyn Nets versus Cleveland Cavaliers game. And I'm shaking my head saying, listen, I get it. Indiana, St. John's, these are not ranked teams. I understand like there might not be a market in Los Angeles for that, but you got to have college basketball on. We're right next to the number 2 team in the we're on you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The vibes were off of the whole thing. And I was just like, this is, and then we go to the game and there's like kind of nobody there. And I was like, man, I thought the Magic was back. Magic might not be back, dude. I'm worried.
It was a North Florida game.
It was North Florida. That's the one optimistic thing I have.
That's the one thing we take away.
Yeah, it's the one thing.
I think by the time the Pac-12 starts, we're locked in.
Okay.
Around Westwood.
I'm going back.
We have to be.
The next game is in like 2 weeks. They play Colorado.
All right. That game we're locked in.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. So that's number 5. Number 4, this is going to surprise you as well. The 2020 National Coach of the Year, Anthony Grant, is number 4 on the fraud power ranking. I'm going to tell you why. Dayton is off to their worst start since 2004-2005 season. They are 1-2. They just lost at home to UMass Lowell. Lowell. On Saturday, they lose a home game to UMass Lowell. Follow it up, lose by 19 to Lipscomb on Wednesday, and that is bad enough, Tate, because this is a program that should have won the national title in 2020. They were one of 7 teams that we said were national champions that year. Fast forward now, it's bad enough that they're 1-2. It's bad enough that they lost by 19 to Lipscomb. This is the worst part of it all. Lipscomb's coach said this after the loss. This was the worst home loss for Dayton since 2011. This is what he said. He goes, I know this is a tough night for them, but there's nobody who respects Anthony Grant more than me. Anthony Grant is a great basketball coach and a better person, and they'll get it right. They're really talented. I've done this for a long time. This is my 32nd year as a coach, and when that ball goes in, everything looks good, and when it doesn't go in, it's a miserable game. He will get it right. They just need to keep encouraging those kids because they're young and they're talented. I just have so much respect for him. He got hit with the good guy treatment 3 games into the season after winning National Coach of the Year in 2020. Feels fraudulent. The National Coach of the Year feels fraudulent.
And he lost Obi Toppin, obviously a lottery pick. He loses Jalen Crutcher, who's now playing on the G League team with the Hornets. So you lost some talent out of that
Watson's
program.
gone.
Yeah, exactly. So you lost a lot of talent with this team. And that was, like you said, we built up for this run. It was probably very deflating to lose the tournament that year, a year that you're going to make that run. So, if anything, maybe you lost a little bit luster. Now you got like the reset, the new crew of players. And we've seen this before. Sometimes when you fly and you get, up here, you start getting recruits that are maybe above, your usual level of recruits. You take in some guys that don't necessarily fit your program. And Jay Wright, he had this whole problem. And you get locked up with Javon Quinterly's of the world. You know what I mean? Where you're like, who is this 5-star and why is he demanding things of me? This is not how we run our program. So maybe there's some of that going on.
I will say this. Here's one takeaway, a positive takeaway. They do have 12 freshmen on the roster.
Yeah, they're young. They're a young team. Like you can see why there would be some growing pains, but I think it's a fair point. Number 4.
All right, number 3 on the list. We'll make this one quick. The Big Ten. Listen, I know everyone.
Number 3. What?
Now, hang on a second.
Are you kidding me?
Hang on a second.
Who's making the list?
Hang on a second. Now, hang on.
Number 3.
Here's the thing. Spin zone coming. Illinois doesn't have Kofi Coburn. You already covered it. The Dan Gavitt rigged the stack the deck. They're playing on the road. Why is Illinois on the road? Why is Ohio State on the road?
Yeah.
Why is who else is on the road? Michigan State you made go on the road. Who else? It felt like half the teams had to go on the road.
Michigan State played well, by the way. That was a good game for them.
Michigan State did play well.
Yeah.
It felt like half of our teams had to go on the road. That's not fair. The Big Ten should be hosting all of these games. So first of all, the deck was stacked. Illinois doesn't have Kofi Coburn. Ohio State doesn't have Justice Suing or Seth Towns. Purdue's looked great, by the way. Purdue's like actually the one team that I believe in the Big Ten. They didn't play in the Gavitt games. Maybe you let Purdue play Villanova. Maybe they smash Villanova at home and people are singing a different tune. I don't know. I'm just throwing out some hypotheticals here. I don't know.
The only Big Ten teams to win in the Gavitt games: Michigan State, Indiana. 6-2 for the Big East.
Michigan State blew out Butler. No one's talking about that. The spread was 3. They won by 21. Why is no one talking about that? Interesting. I just find it interesting is all. Ultimately, the takeaway with the Big Ten is this. Ohio State was injured. That game, throw it out. Bad matchup. Michigan and Maryland suck. That's basically what happened. That's the whole reason this narrative is formed is because Michigan and Maryland suck. Why? And you want me to be upset about that? That Michigan sucks at home? Yeah. And Maryland sucked at home? Like, is that what Ohio State at least went on the road. We lost in a hostile environment,
I respect that.
Like, if we're losing at home to DePaul, then yeah, I'm worried. But we didn't.
We'll see how upset I am based on number 2 and number 1.
So there it is. Like the Big Ten, I get it. It's not looking great. Early returns are not great, but
maybe this is good news, right? Because usually you guys are hot out the gate. You're beating everybody, and then we get to March and you run out of steam.
Yeah, underestimate us.
Yeah.
Go
ahead. Maybe
Go ahead.
it's better to be the underdog.
Yeah, be the underdog. All
First
right,
time.
I like that. Number 2, the Oregon Ducks. A team that I really believed in.
Yeah,
a team
you talked me into them.
I put my neck out and said they're winning Maui, and now I have. I mean, I got to stick with it, but I don't like it. BYU beat Oregon by 32 with Phil Knight in attendance.
Blew them out.
The largest loss for Oregon ever as a ranked team. What was the other stat I saw? BYU is the first unranked team to win by 30 away from home against a ranked team since 1993.
Year I was born.
Or a top 15 team, not a ranked team. So they won by 30 against a top 15 team. Since 1993, that's not happened. That's insane.
28 years.
Blew them out. BYU looks awesome, by the way. I think BYU should be a top 10 team.
I think so, too.
That seems a little overreaction, but
maybe
at
top
the same
15.
time,
Let's give them a top 15. Let's make them 15.
Barcelo was nuts. Their defense was like I was watching that game and I felt like I was watching Iowa Oregon except flip from the NCAA tournament. Where like no matter what Oregon tried to do, BYU just stonewall them, and then Barcelo on the other end was hitting everything. And I don't know. We love BYU. The real takeaway is Mark Pope is.
He has our attention.
He's got something cooking.
Yeah, when we kind of fell in love with him in 2019 at the Maui Invitational, obviously first year on the job, had some holdover guys, but you could see the writing on the wall that the team loved him. The team believed in him. The team was attuned to what he had going on. And now, obviously that season gets riddled, nothing works out. They kind of got off the path a little bit as far as like our purview. We weren't talking about BYU. We do our Pac-12 update, but somehow Mark Pope wasn't finding his way in there. But now it's our time. We have to focus in on BYU. We have to give them their due.
Yeah.
And they're a sneaky team. They're a dark horse team. And when you look at the odds of Nashville, they were something insane, like 300 to 1 or something like that. And now we're talking like top 20 team and a team with a lot of upside. That would be insane odds to give them because they look the part, at least in this one game.
I wonder what the odds are for them to win the WCC to beat out Gonzaga. I bet those odds are very high.
They are the team.
I don't know how odds
they are the team, though. If you're Gonzaga, you're excited that you have them in the WCC because you have a test in your conference, finally.
Yes, they're going to be a test. They're very much going to be a test.
Yes.
In fact, they're going to lose at BYU. That's a guarantee. I guarantee it.
Ooh,
Stamp it.
Nice.
Stamp it.
I
It's
like
happening.
that. I'm with that.
Number 1 on the fraud power rankings. Oregon, though, you suck. And I should have. Let me finish the Oregon thought. I won't forget that loss, by the way. Like that's what stung the most wasn't just that they lost and that they got blown out. It was like that was like that felt like a loss that come March I'll be going to fill out my bracket and I won't be able to get it out of my head that Oregon lost by 32, basically at home to BYU, to an unranked BYU team. I won't be able to get it out of my head.
Yeah.
So I might have just sold every ounce of Oregon stock I had just based on that one game. Which seems ridiculous, but like that's how bad they looked. I mean,
they're 500 team now too. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, number 1 on the fraud power rankings for the second consecutive week, Tony Bennett.
Oh my goodness.
Tony Bennett.
Wow. Virginia fans are going to be up in arms, but blown out by
Houston.
Blown
out by Houston, and that's what hurts the most. Was that Houston? This was a fraud
was
off.
yes.
This was a fraud off. I was hoping that Tony would really just,
he would sniff out the fraud.
Yeah, did not happen. And now you put me in a position, Tony, where I have to compliment Houston, and suddenly like I'm walking back a lot of things I've said about Houston basketball because Houston has my attention now, Tate. They have my attention. This is all I've wanted from Houston this whole time was just a
quality win.
To beat the hell out of Tony Bennett's worst team he's had in over a decade.
I was going to say, the worst part about this is that it doesn't even really help Houston as far as their resume because it does seem like Virginia, this is going to be a really down year for them. I've had a lot of Virginia fans reach out to me talking about their recruiting class for next year, how loaded it is. Yeah. They're bringing in so much talent. Great. You know how many times that has happened with
But
these
the
top
point
programs?
is, you're Virginia. You're not like you're supposed. If you're going to be a blue blood, it's got to be every year.
Every year.
It's got to be every year.
No days off.
No days off. And they got some days off. They're going to have a lot of days off this year.
I don't know how Tony handles the PR of all this.
Tony leaves Virginia and goes to Wisconsin. I think it happens this year. I don't know how I said that.
I'm like
kind of lines up. I don't know. It makes sense.
Virginia fans' heads explode as you say that. That would be crazy. That can't happen.
Then Brad Stevens to Virginia.
Oh my God. Brad Stevens.
Why not? There's your fraud power rankings. Let's do shout-outs, closeouts, and get out of here.
I got to shout out Patrick Baldwin Jr. We mentioned him on the program. He decided to go play for his dad. You asked me what game I was going to watch, Titus.
Florida game?
The Florida game.
Oof.
And they get beat 81-45. He had 13 points in the game in 34 minutes, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. And now, look, I said it was a great decision to go play for his dad. Made a lot of sense. That ain't going to get you
He should have
drafted.
gone to Duke.
He should have gone to Duke.
He should have gone to Duke.
He should have gone to Duke.
You're recruiting for Duke now.
No. I'm just saying, in retrospect, maybe your dad should have let you go to Duke. You know what I mean? Like you would, because if Paolo gets pulled over in this world, he probably doesn't play in that game. You probably start. You know what I mean? You have your moment. You step in. You get like 30 points against Gardner-Webb. Everyone gives you like the Jalen Johnson moment. They're like, this guy should opt out. He's so amazing.
Is it possible to love your dad too much? I think the answer might be yes.
Yes.
Now. I think we're finding
Kendall Roy. Sometimes you love your dad too much.
I want to shout out Sister Jean.
Oh my God. She just keeps
Loyola
climbing.
Ramblers who have joined the are going to join the A10, I should say, which is it's a good move, right?
Yeah, it's a great.
Yeah,
move.
Loyola's like not
fits.
Loyola has established themselves as a good basketball program,
and they were a sleeping giant. You know,
yeah.
Like they made Final Fours in the '60s. They come back. Custer. I mean, last year they make a lot of noise, so they're here to stay.
I love the idea of Loyola and Dayton and Loyola and St. Louis having rivalries. The Midwest representatives.
Loyola Dayton is a good rivalry.
Yeah, Loyola Dayton would be great, right?
I like that.
Play twice a year now. This could be great. How many bids Dayton getting this year, though? What do you think?
4.
I love it. Love it. What else you got?
Give me 4. I'll shout out Dickie V.
Yes, good
because this is obviously this is his 43rd year at ESPN. They're gonna
wait. How many years has K been there at Duke?
1980.
Does it line up?
It's pretty much around the same. Yeah.
Oh my God.
42, 41.
Oh my God. No, my God.
Well, there is no Coach K farewell tour without Dickie V.
Yeah.
Dickie V is obviously battling cancer right now, but he has gotten the green light after his treatment to call Tuesday night Gonzaga versus UCLA, the biggest game in college basketball.
Second biggest game in college basketball.
You're right.
Behind St. Francis, St. John's. But yes,
that's
I'm
right.
following.
That's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot that's the same day, but not at the same time.
Not at the same time.
So you can watch us, and then you can
both.
watch Dickie V call this game.
You're absolutely. This is so. I saw this news and I got chills. I was just so excited that Dickie V's back. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm just a pessimist, but my mind goes to the worst. Not to be morbid, but like I was like, we probably have seen the last of Dickie V on our airwaves. You know, like this is probably whatever happens with his health. Like surely he's not going to get to a point where he can get back on television, is it? Wrong.
Bang.
Great sliver of good news in this hellscape of a world we live in. Finally delivered right to my telephone. I look down and I see Dickie V's going to be calling 1 versus 2. It feels so good.
I love it.
It feels so good.
It's right, and we needed it for college basketball. We need it for Coach K, and he's going to have the energy because
he's going to talk about K the entire game.
Absolutely,
and it's going to be Gonzaga UCLA, and he's talking about K, and we love it. That's what we need
because this is the battle. Who is America's team? Is it Gonzaga? Is it UCLA? Yes. And Dickie V comes in and says,
"It's Duke.
It's Duke. And it's always been Duke. He's the Moon Man. It's always been Duke."
Oh man! Speaking of old dudes, I want to shout out Jim Calhoun, who's officially retired for the 3rd time now, 4th time now.
I think it's the 4th time.
4th time he's retired.
It's the 4th time.
Division III St. Joseph. He's hanging him up. So
seriously?
Yeah, he retired. Like
I did not see this.
He just announced it today. He might. Hopefully, he gets back into broadcasting. I love Calhoun as a broadcaster. I can't understand his accent though. To be honest, like I'm gonna raise my hand. And
not a dime back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a pretty thick accent, but he was a great broadcaster. When I knew what he was saying, I was like, this dude's awesome.
He gave me Bobby Knight vibes before Bobby Knight kind of just got mad at the broadcast. But when he first started, he would give you some gems. You know, he'd be calling out some of the plays. And you're like, oh, wow, it was very Tony Romo before Tony Romo. But
finally, Saturday, UNC versus Purdue Tate, and Villanova versus Tennessee, Mohegan Sun, the Hall of Fame tip-off deal, right? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it is.
How we feeling about it?
Hubert Davis, I love Hubert Davis to death. Gets a nice win at College of Charleston. Bobby Crimmins, Jim, your boy Bobby Crimmins, was at the game with Roy Williams. That was fun. It was a good battle. I'm worried about this weave, this triple weave offense that Purdue has. The Carolina defense, one of the worst defenses in the country. I mean, we
just picture your guys looking over at Hubert. They're like, they won't stop weaving.
What are they doing?
They won't stop.
It feels like that could be the game against Purdue, so I'm not as optimistic about that. But what I'm hoping is that we get some sort of quality win in this tournament.
You go 1-1.
We go 1-1.
You need to go 1-1. Yeah. Someone's going to go 1-2. You just hope it's not you.
No, I mean, and if Villanova beats Tennessee like I expect, you lose to Purdue, then you beat Tennessee.
That's not bad.
You move on.
So that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Rick Barnes throws games against Carolina, right?
Oh, well, he tries to throw hands against Dean
Smith.
Right.
That's right. Oh, that's right. I forgot the feuds and the. That's right. He's mad because he wasn't hired, so it's the opposite. Yes. He tries to beat.
No, he
Carolina.
went to Clemson and then tried to fight.
He tried to. That's right. The exact opposite of what I said. He does not throw good. Oh, happy birthday, Kyle Crichton. That's my last shout out.
Oh, what? Wow. Yeah,
our old producer.
And today is it's Friday.
Yeah,
You're listening on Friday. It's Kyle's birthday. Yeah. Get on your Twitter or whatever you can to communicate with Kyle, Reddit, whatever it is, and say happy birthday. And don't say nephew Kyle.
Don't
say producer Kyle.
We're going out and celebrating, right, Jim?
Who's Kyle? No, I'm just kidding. I'm a big fan of Kyle's. Uncle.
Do we know how old Kyle is? Do we know how old he is?
No.
27.
He's 27.
28, maybe.
Yeah, something like
that. I think he's a year younger than me, so I think he might be 27.
He's got a lot of life in those years, though.
Yeah, no, I mean,
he's got a lot of life in those 27 years.
Exactly.
Happy birthday, Kyle. Congratulations to Xavier on your national championship you won tonight.
Congratulations to the Big East.
Congratulations to the Big East. Hang the banner at Madison Square Garden. Xavier beat Ohio State. Hang it in the Madison Square Garden.
St. John's. We'll see you Tuesday.
See you Tuesday. Everybody, set your alarm right now.
Yes.
Tuesday night. See you then.
FS2.